Good morning, everyone. This is Michele Hughes from Ageless and Timeless. Today I have two guests, something unusual. Our guests are Ashleigh Quint, who is actually with me writing for Top Doctor Magazine, so we know each other through that venue, but we also know each other through our mutual friend, Rob Fletcher, who is the head of business development for Top Doctor, amongst many other roles that he has in life. And then my other guest is Justin King. And Justin, I just want you to know I love your name because my husband for 40 plus years, who unfortunately passed away a few years back, but he was a big football player and a big athlete, just like you. Yeah. And his name was Justin. So I have a very strong partiality to your name.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, so welcome to both of you today. I'm so honored to have you on the show and to share with our viewers all that you have experienced in your very short but very prolific lifetime. So let's dive in. Ashleigh, I want to start with you because, well, ladies first. Okay, so tell us how you and Rob became so aligned in your vision. Just give us a little history about the background of how you got together.
Rob and I met in Columbus, Ohio at Metro Fitness through Mike Davies, who was doing filming at the time. And we met because I got asked to do the America's Next Greatest Trainer. And Rob and I just totally clicked. We had a lot in common. And since then, it kind of took off. So we've just always ended up collaborating on different things. He's a big idea man, and I like that. So the different concepts he's always thrown my way, I just kind of like taken it and ran just because I like to, do things that have any sort of like health promotion to be able to get out there in the open. So that's kind of been my whole push and why Rob's kind of been like, a main leader in that. And I've just gravitated to him.
And so what have you two accomplished together? Give us some specifics of
Cool. Okay. So we've ended up we did stuff with Muscle and Fitness Plus, which was more of the anti-aging realm and getting that kind of kicked off. With Top Doctor, we've ended up writing more articles that end up bringing in not just physicians, but like trainers and different people in the biohacking industry to be able to let others know, like, here's how we can start to utilize and work with others within a network, but not just so specialized. So, I mean, with that, it's just been like a movement on health, wellness, and trying to get the education aspect out there because the education part has definitely lacked, I believe, 15, 20 years ago, it's not where it is now. But it's so important to end up allowing people to know that even if they don't know anything, just start educating yourself because education will build the awareness. And with time, you'll be able to become, a wiser patient yourself, but then also you'll know what to look for in order to advocate for yourself, for family, loved ones, or, your clients as well. So that's been more of the push to try to get this movement out there. So, movement is medicine. And
it's so interesting because we never knew each other until Rob connected us, but we both wrote, I had a podcast on Muscle and Fitness Plus. Yep. And for 2.5 years, it was really sad when they disbanded that. Were you sad too about
I was. Yeah, but I also, there was a part of me, and maybe you felt this way too. I don't know if it was the proper alignment, just because so many, Muscle and Fitness has a lot to do with only bodybuilding, and it's very hard to be able to integrate but different biohacking. Yes. I mean, which is in theory why I've kind of aligned and partnered myself here, because Justin and what Chris does is exactly that. And I think that, it has to start somewhere, but I don't know if it technically was ready for it yet. I do think that now as things have evolved over the past 5 years, I think we're more on the cusp because people are now finding interest in like wearing wearables and tracking things and what are my metrics and all that. So I think we're like now on that verge, but 4 or 5 years ago, we all wanted it to go that way. I just don't know if it was exactly the right platform for that, just because it was a lot more hard-nosed. It wasn't like open-minded. It was like, is this or that, and I think that when you end up crossing these barriers and you are inviting different forms of alignment to create a whole person, I do feel that you need to end up you need to end up knowing the right timing for things. And I think that's important rather than just doing it to do it. Be intention with what you're doing and understanding why, again, education. So I do think that right now we are on a much better forefront. And I do think that this alignment is much better, much better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I just don't think they have the vision or the commitment that Top Doctor has and that Standard has. And so that's why let's go to Justin for a moment, Justin, because I don't want to leave you here. Although you're a very good listener, I can see that watching you.
Lonely over here. Someone talk to me.
I know. I'm so sorry, but here we go. So, because I read all about you and didn't know of you before, sorry to say, but I'm so happy to be aware of you. And I see that you also have Jim LaValle in your experience of doctors, and he was a guest on my podcast and is really one of my most revered physician. So I'm very happy to know that we have him in common.
He's amazing.
As well as Rob Fletcher too. But so Chris, Justin, I'm thinking of Chris because he's your mentor, one of your mentors, right? Or actually you trained him. So he actually owes a lot to you, right? For his 6-time Mr. Olympia record. That's pretty amazing. We just looked him up before you guys came on, and Tony said, wow, he's really handsome. So I said, well, I guess I better get to know him. Is he coming to, is he going to be at A4M with all of us?
He's not, but for the best reason. They're welcoming their second baby right at the same time. So he'll be home with his wife and his daughter.
Beautiful. So Justin, tell us about you. How did you get started in this wonderful field of wellness and longevity?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm kind of an oddball case that I've known what I've wanted to do since I was like 12. So like from that moment, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to kind of maximize my ability. And around the age of 16, I got around some great coaches, just happenstance, like God always opens the best doors. And I got in with coaches that knew of Charles Poliquin. And so from the age of 17, I just obsessed and went to every course of his humanly possible, started going to whoever he told me to go to. Fast forward to now, I've just continued to get to learn from amazing people. They're way smarter than myself, and have put in way more years than I have, but I've been able to culminate everything that they do into a system that, kind of like what we're getting into, it's able to service a professional athlete, a bodybuilder, an aging individual, someone in between, whoever it is. There's kind of a fix for each of those people based on everything I've been able to culminate.
So how did the Standard opportunity come about for both of you?
Yeah, so Chris, we linked up after his 5th Mr. Olympia win. And from that, he was going to retire, decided that, you know what, like I'm gonna look for the best training. And I was training his brother-in-law at the time, and things were going great. Things were going really, really well with him. So we connected. I started to coach Chris, and he had a previous brand. It was an app, a training app, kind of general. And he was like, hey, why don't we integrate this training into the app, and we'll change it, rebrand it, make it Standard. So that's kind of how Standard started. It was what Chris had previously, but just injecting it with better training philosophies and ideology. And then following that, we just recently brought my coaching brand, which was previously Built Better, into Standard. So now it's a top to bottom, really anyone anywhere can access it, whether it's through the app and you're getting workouts, through group coaching, whether it's through our in-person events, in-person coaching. We have quite an array of offerings now, and the ability to impact anyone who's serious about changing their life and getting the life transformative results that we're known for.
And what was the reason for bringing Ashleigh in? I mean, obviously, that's kind of a rhetorical question, but go ahead and answer it anyway.
Other than her being a very lovely person,
yeah,
we got to a point to where I mean, for myself, something that's really, really big in my heart is wanting to give back. And just like the people who invested in me and helped me learn, that's the very obvious next step, is how do we as Standard take everything that we've done and put it into a curriculum to help coaches, to help those coaches help their patients and their clients and athletes. And so we jumped into the curriculum space, and Ashleigh, she was around my initial mentor, Charles Poliquin, very, very early on. So she's been in the space longer than I have. She's taken more courses than I have. She's amazing in many regards, but she has that experience, especially with putting together curriculum. So yeah, I think you had seen the post or whatever it is and applied. And
it was a random call. It was
exactly.
a random call.
European Wellness, founded by the iconic and widely published Professor Dr. Michael Chan, is the world leader in stem cell and peptide therapy, with 26 medical and aesthetic spa locations primarily in Europe and Asia. Their website, www.europeanwellness.com, details the wide range of wellness products that can be ordered using the Ageless code for a 10% discount. They will also offer our viewers discounts on medical and cosmetic services and products if they choose to visit the clinics. I have firsthand experience using their wide range of science-based stem cell and peptide products and am now a loyal customer. Go to their website, www.europeanwellness.com, for more information about this exciting company.
That I got, and it was one of those that as soon as I got the call, we connected like a couple days later, and it was like we had this 2-hour conversation, and it was more like, all right, we totally share a vision. I mean, both of us were teenagers at the time when we met Charles Poliquin.
Yeah.
So clearly we became sponges, and that was our direction and our pathway that we've kind of immersed ourselves in. And other coaching methods and coaches that we've met, you know, they never reached that like high point that Charles was for us, for both of us, as well as many coaches that are within our network. And so it just kind of became this like, you know, brainstorming session rather than even like, hey, how are you?
Yeah, no,
It was like a total brainstorm. And it was like, all right, so, you know, I see what he was wanting to do. And I knew Charles's long-term vision, because I knew him for like 17 years before he had passed. And, you know, he meant so much to me that, you know, listening to what Justin wanted to do and how he wanted to go about it, it was very inspirational. But at the same time, it was moving to know that, all right, you know, let's start to be able to get this stuff organized. Let's really help out a coaching community, and bring back a lot of different like components that, you know, for us, our training was off of training, like strength training. You know, as Justin and Chris's brands have kind of like, you know, exploded. I mean, clearly they have like the supplement line, they have the food line. There's a lot of more intricate details, which can help out people that are in the bodybuilding world, the physique world. But the best part about this is that what I was more motivated on was you had this high elite athlete and a high elite coach who was wanting to do things the right way. Like that was the best part about this, was like, we're already doing, you know, different biohacking. We're already doing supplement protocols. We're already doing the blood work. We're already working with these top physicians. We're already doing, you know, different type forms of recovery. It was everything that Charles had always talked about and integrated, but it was like, this is a living and breathing person and a coach who has integrated this, and you really can't be more motivated than that. So that was more of like the reason why, yeah, let's do this. Let's get everything that we can into writing, and let's see what we can bring it out so that everybody else can start learning and wanting to also be inspired. But again, it's what he said. It's not just coming at it from just an athlete perspective. It's literally looking at it like, I mean, both of us were, okay, former athlete, but the reality is like right now we're not. Like, we're athletic, but in the end, we're both people that can contribute and can do what we're actually like writing. And I think that's the best part, is that when you do that, more people are going to gravitate and be like, what do you do? I want to know, tell me what you do. And because it's applicable, we know how to apply different things. And I think that's probably one of the biggest inspirations, is that you can ask a question and they've done it. And you know if it's a positive, if it worked, if it didn't, or what route you have to go after. And those are the things that are so key that I think too many people in this industry, they like to push things, but they don't apply it. And I think this is what makes standard different than the average training app and business out there, is that everything that's done is applicable.
So Justin, break down the components of the standard program.
Yes, the biggest thing with standard is that the name implies raising your standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, kind of pigging off of Ashleigh, another differentiating factor is with what we do, we truly believe that it is life transformative, regardless of the population that we work with. So we're wanting every facet of the person that we work with to improve from what we're doing. The only way you can have that big of an impact is if we are obsessed with data and individualization. So that's one of the biggest pieces with the coaching system is it is entirely individualized. So when someone comes in, we're looking at neurochemistry, we're looking at blood work, we're looking at their biomechanical length and tensions and every relationship in their body, head to toe, inside and out, to determine what their weakest links are. And then again, we've culminated systems from hundreds and hundreds of years of experience between all the people that we've brought the systems in. And then we can trigger point the exact problem and the fastest way to get from point A to point B for the individual. And that comes in an all-inclusive fashion. So we're not a place that you go where you want to get a good sweat on. We're not a place that you go that's going to write you a program or a really cool mindset mantra or a simple supplement protocol from blood work. Everything that is given to you, if there's ever a stone that can be turned that's going to result in a result, we manipulate it. So again, there's people who say they're all inclusive, but truly what we do, the intention is for it to be all encompassing, and that's how we can get results that we're known for.
What role does nutrition play in your program?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. Whether it's a client coming in for transformation and they're wanting to lose weight, whether it's an athlete who's trying to get back into the league and they're injured, if it's an executive who's stressed and overworked, whatever it is, nutrition is the fuel of the body, very obviously. So it's something we manipulate both in a macro and a micro sense to optimize. And of course, with the individualization as well, it depends on the person. There's people on one end to where we have private chefs and meal catering to where they're getting every single meal perfectly measured and every food is chosen down to the last little bit. And then on the other end, of course, there's people who are on that gray scale, that on the opposite side of it, we're just doing simple things like a FODMAP diet, or we're eliminating small pieces or whatever it is. But yeah, nutrition is huge, and it's something that we incorporate with everyone.
Do you have a test, a lab test that will give people results that they can then measure their level of health based on their nutrition? I know that, of course, everybody knows the basic lab test, but I'm just thinking specifying more about the food-related choices. Are you using anything to determine those outcomes for individuals?
Yep. So we use there's a lab that Dr. Laval is on the board of, that they have a very reputable food sensitivity test that we'll utilize. We were utilizing Cyrex prior. They're amazing. Just Laval he's a walking, talking result. So if he points to something, I'm like, okay, sounds good. We'll roll with that. So we'll utilize those things. And then of course, in conjunction with Dr. Laval and the team that we have, we will do in-depth analysis, and we can start to piece together what foods, why those foods, why are you reactive to the foods, and then we implement a plan based off of it.
Yeah, I was on the internet last night. That was probably a big mistake to do right before you go to bed, because there's so much misinformation, but there's also a lot of troubling information that I think could be accurate. And the big thing last night, I guess, because they monitor through AI what your interests are, right? So on my Instagram comes up all this stuff about food and about the toxicity in our food supply. And so the big thing that really gives me pause, and I wonder if you're dealing with this, is even the companies like Whole Foods and Whole Foods and Sprouts were the two they brought up last night, are spraying the organic vegetables with chlorine in order to make them last longer and look fresher. Well, I mean, that defeats the whole purpose if you're eating
Yeah.
organic and it's sprayed with chemicals.
Yeah.
So, what do you do? How are you dealing with this? I mean, I know farmers markets are, probably our best bet as long as they're organic farms. But even an organic farm gets sprayed if they're next door to a non-organic farm, the wind blows and guess what? The pesticides or glyphosate or whatever are going to be on their vegetables. So I'm kind of troubled by this because I'm thinking, where do I go? Where does an individual evolve like we are? And we're lucky enough to have the knowledge and the discernment, but where do we go to get the tainted vegetables? And then they went into meat and how they're now injecting chicken and beef at Trader Joe's with mRNA, the vaccine. So I'm bringing up something that's on my mind. What do you say about it?
Yeah, no, I mean, you and I both know that agriculture does not necessarily drive quality. That's something that one of our early mentors used to talk about quite a bit, the difference in the micronutrients in the food now, 50 years ago, the chemicals, everything associated. And I'm sure you've had people on who are way smarter than I am that have talked about what those toxins do to your body.
Right.
But it is difficult. Obviously, with our higher end clientele, when they're working with a private chef who their job and their pay is literally dependent on their ability to source those things.
Right.
Problem. Of course, when we're working with people who we're coaching online or on more of a budget, it can be difficult unless if you're willing to spend $1,000 a week and really sort those things out for your groceries. It's really tough. Some of the things that we've done, knowing that some of those things for certain demographics they're difficult to escape, we'll support them with supplement protocols, lifestyle protocols to at least make.
Yeah, I'm losing you for a moment here. Tony, is there something with the tape? Tony, are you there?
Ways to do it, but yeah, you're right. It can be difficult.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost you there. You went mute on me, so I missed a little bit of what you said. But I think I've got the gist of it. Ashleigh, how do you feel about the food supply? I mean, obviously, we all know since the Industrial Revolution, and that's in our generations. We've been fighting all of the things that we're talking about that our grandparents and great grandparents didn't have to worry about. So the food supply is now, one of the biggest targets for, unfortunately, for money. They follow the money, and So how do you deal with the issue?
So I definitely think there's environmental changes. I mean, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, so we're a big agricultural state in general.
Yeah.
We have a lot more farmers markets, and we also have a lot of people that live on a farm.
Yeah.
So being able to buy a cow or, be able to, have different types of like fertilizers and everything. We do have those available. It's just trying to get in that, environment and connect with people. As far as I think, like, what should people do in general? If they don't have certain resources, there's a wonderful book called What to Eat by Marion Nestle. She is a huge food critic, brilliant. I've ended up following her a lot, but her book ends up talking about how to shop in a grocery store and to be able to listen to exactly what you were saying, that, if you shop at Whole Foods, how is it that they're getting certain types of seasonal fruits and vegetables? And then, you have like air flyer points, they're in the air for, 2 weeks in order to get there. So they're not ripening at the same time. So I think, again, it goes back to the education, right? Like based on all of our environments, we all in theory live in 3 different environments and we're having to adapt, what resources that we have or what we're able to do. But again, it's because we're aware. And I think if more of that awareness were to come out, and have a lot of consumers that are able to educate themselves and, say, okay, so when I get this is what I do, or, in the winter months, rather than, still shopping at Whole Foods or Sprouts and getting, fruits and vegetables, we go frozen. And these are things yeah, years ago when we were going to these biosig conferences, Charles was telling us like, do these things now. And I think it's like, years and years ago, it was, does it resonate with you? And then you work with it word of mouth. Like, so then you start telling your clients and all that. So that has a huge component, but yeah, I mean, I think just educating yourself and learning where to go, in what environments, or travel is huge. And then doing your own research so that you're knowing, how can I stay healthy? And
Yeah.
I think the big thing for a lot of like clients and individuals in general is what is health to you? Because like these are our health standards and we align with this. And like you have your health standards and you align with that. And I think it's very key that when we're, attracting a population of people that we want to be able to help, that the big thing is like, do we align with you? Like what we say, like, is that even something that you can take on and do? Because some people, got to be honest, like they may want something, but they're not invested. And I think that's the big thing is that knowing like, where we're coming from, we're invested in this. This is our life and want to be able to spread this to others. But we're also very realistic that we understand not everybody can or wants to. However, there are small things that, if you want to start doing one or two things, this is, you can start gradual and build. And I think we're very realistic on that.
Well, I think if people are coming to the Standard app or to your organization, they already have an incentive. There's something that's driving them. So you're starting with a goal, and one of your roles as teachers and coaches and educators is to augment that goal into something that's realizable. By obviously there's a psychology to all of that, as well as the technical details that you just described, both of you just described. So what about hormones? How do we deal with, because you say customization, but everybody is different. So we have peptides with so many of these synthetic aminos. We have peptide bioregulators that are actually real aminos from bovine, and then we have our basic hormones that need to be obviously tested before we know what the baseline is. So how do you deal? There's so many variables, but Chris, I'm going to keep calling you Chris. Sorry, Justin. Justin, tell us how you deal with that customization when it comes to those categories.
So there's three layers for how we'll implement kind of like hormone regulation. One, let's say we have someone come in through the app. We have a robust curriculum that helps walk them through how they can determine what's off just by lifestyle reflections, right? If you're lacking energy in the morning, there could be an adrenal issue. If you're lacking sex drive, it could be testosterone. If there's some inflammation, we're looking at their estrogen and everything related there. And then we'll give them protocols based on that kind of self-diagnosis, nothing aggressive. On the next level of that, of course, we do have, as Ashleigh had mentioned, the biosignature or metabolic analytics protocols. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with them, but
no, tell us about that.
Yeah, so that there is some research that was done in the last 40 years, let's say, that he culminated and associated different sites of your body to hormonal dysfunction, storing excess body fat. So for example, your upper back, if you store more fat there, generally there's an insulin sensitivity issue. More fat in the lower back, there's going to be some gut problems, likely, especially associated to insulin sensitivity. So he went through and created an algorithm. So in that middle tier, we can do a 14-site test, and based on those ratios, we can get a general understanding of, okay, you're storing more fat in your quad based on these ratios. There might be an estrogen or a xenoestrogen problem. So then we can go through protocols. And then the last layer is, of course, what we would do with Dr. James Laval, which is very in-depth testing. And it starts everyone with the exact same panel, but I've seen much, much more, I don't want to say severe, but in-depth panels done to truly identify what the problem is. And then it's all in the individual treatment. But of course, utilizing if there's exogenous hormones, if there's peptides that are needed, if there's specialty designer like supplements that are needed. Laval, he's amazing with that stuff. But we implement first off whatever they can do, and then whatever's best for their health. So we are big into that. But of course, we want to be able to reach as many people as we can. And we know not everyone can afford some of those, but definitely the impact that can be had is incredible.
So are you saying that before anyone can become a quote client of Standard, they have to have the baseline lab work done?
So at our highest level, that's something that we've implemented. We're somewhat loose nowadays with it because there are, I mean, you can imagine we have an NFL athlete who comes in, they have 4 weeks and they're trying to get onto a team. We're not going to say, hey, you've got to wait 2 weeks for a turnaround of blood work.
Right.
So there's, of course, scenarios where we're not implementing blood work, but at the highest level, those individuals come in and they want the best result.
Right.
And we'd be lying if we said the blood work wouldn't be associated with getting that, and especially in a timely manner. So it is something that we push.
So have you noticed in your results that the hormones are playing a huge role? They're like the superhighway of the body, even though all the other blood work is very important. But the hormones really get neglected by non-functional medicine doctors. They hardly ever test you, and yet they are really the barometer for the rest of the bodily function. So have you found that by tweaking those hormones, you've had huge successes?
Absolutely. And of course, tweaking the hormones, and I know you're inferring this, it comes in many layers. It could be a habit, such as just your light exposure, that's going to change it. So we'll tweak those, but understanding what's going on at the hormonal level, truly more times than not, that's the reason that people come in and they haven't been able to get a result.
Right.
Or they've chronically been injured or chronically been anxious or whatever it is.
Right.
People don't realize that for every reaction, every experience that you have in your body, there is a chemical cascade that happens.
Right.
And if you measure that and identify the dysfunction, again, down to that individuality, you then can treat that person as an individual where they are in time to get them to where they want to be. So yeah, absolutely, it's huge.
You know, every one of my guests have, been focusing on the discussion about the gut brain, and now the heart, the gut brain heart axis. So, people don't realize that, a lot of people don't realize that 70 or 80% of your immune system is in your microbiome, in your gut. So if you don't start there and then look at those hormones that affect the gut brain heart axis to augment the outcome. So do you use peptides, the synthetic peptides that are the big rage right now in functional medicine?
Yeah, not being a doctor, I of course leave a lot of that decision making to the team of doctors that we work with. But I do know that we do have individuals that utilize GLPs, that have utilized BPC and TB500 for rehab purposes or more kind of more specialty cases. Those definitely have been utilized. We don't really go too far in that realm, though. I really love Laval's thought process with when it comes to peptides, and that's he's using things that are heavily tested and he knows going to make a difference because again, we know that a lot of these things, the root issue is not that they're missing a peptide. The root issue comes down to habits, which comes down to their ability to stick to something, which comes down to their hormones and their brain chemicals associated with everything that they're doing. So we'll use them supplementally, of course, but we like to kind of stay within what Dr. Laval pushes towards, and he's conservative, I would say. If you had to put him on a scale, he's a little bit more conservative,
which is good. So Ashleigh, in your experience thus far with Standard, what articles, I know you've been writing for them as well as helping with the curriculum, so what articles have you written that you think have been game changing?
So I'm going to answer that in a question. I want to get back to just this one point real quick.
Yes.
Our role is more to educate, and that's the biggest thing, is that we are the connection to these physicians who can do that. But with a lot of these clients that come in or on the community calls or whatever that Chris and Justin are taking, they're educating these individuals who can become patients under these doctors, so that they're getting food for thought to be able to say, can you put me in contact with so-and-so? So there is this advocacy that's going on. And so it's we want to educate patients.
Yes.
And our job is that once we are making that connection between that patient and then that physician, we are on the back end being able to look at this and say, okay, now that these things are working, now do you see what we're talking about? Now you see the difference. Now we can train this way. Now you can do it. And it's like really making that connection and just learning, like, we then become a support system for the individual client who we're rooting for them to be able to keep being compliant with the physician, because that connection makes our job very easy. So that's more of like how that's going, that the education is the key part that they're doing, and then us educating ourselves, knowing what these physicians can do, and knowing that we're able to kind of help push in the general population bracket. That's like more of like how our role would end up being. And so with that, I mean, that makes it, leading into your next your question you had. So it's like my job is to be on the like writing, like being like a senior writer in a sense, learning about what everyone's been doing, culminating that, being able to put it into a curriculum, into manuals. And then with that kind of took some inspiration after, like, I've dove into this for 6 months, doing this and learning and connecting dots. It was like, why don't I write why don't I write an article for Top Doctor on different recovery methods? Because it's like, oh my gosh, they've, you know, Justin's been motivating Chris to do all these different recovery methods, and like, how do you overcome these injuries? And so that became, you know, inspirational. And like, this is really happening. Like, and other people need to know this. It's not just this, like, you know, he's out of touch, he's out of reach, he doesn't apply to us. It's like, no, he's like all of us. And he's had these minor setbacks. He's had a big setback here or there. And with that, these are the simple things that we've done, but this is the lifestyle that, you know, Justin has assisted in trying to create for Chris long term. And I think it all changes for all of us, you know, like a commonality, we're all parents. And then, like, sometimes like that's not looked at the forefront, but it's something that, like, if you're healthy, your kids, they're able to see how you're healthy and like what you're doing. And I know just by, you know, listening to Chris, like, one of his big things is like, he's a dad. And so choices in life change. Like, Justin's a dad, choices in life change. Like, I'm a mom. And when you have that commonality, you understand like what you need to do for that next generation. I think that's the biggest thing. So being able to, you know, write the most recent article, Ryan, who is also on the writing team, you know, Ryan and I ended up writing an article on, you know, movement as medicine and different things that, you know, Chris and Justin were able to do and be able to explain to us, to be able to get out there to other people, to be like, you know, doing a cold plunge or wearing red light glasses or walking and getting your movement, or the stretching, breathing techniques. All these things, they're not frou-frou. There is science behind them. They matter. And, you know, being able to use it on a platform that other males can end up, you know, reflecting on and being like, oh, I didn't know he did that. You know, maybe I want to do that too. So those types of articles have ended up being more of like how we get this out there, so that the movement of what we're ultimately wanting is everyone to be healthy, happy, but moving as medicine, and being able to culminate a healthy lifestyle. You know, that's more of like where this has all gone. So clearly I've written different articles on peptides, you know, with other Poliquin coaches that, you know, have been in the network, all that. I mean, I've done that, but I think this has probably been the one article that was most inspiring, but it just touched home because it was so real. I wasn't talking from like just looking at data studies and saying, hey, do this because this study says it. It's a real life story that came very raw, and it's very relatable.
Well, could you send us a link to that article, and we'll put it in the show notes? Definitely. Absolutely. So what about stem cells? Are you playing around with stem cells in any way for fitness, Chris? Justin. You're going to be my new
game. I'd be like Justin 3 shots right now.
just like Chris, know that you kept getting called.
Water.
No, Justin, are you?
With stem cell, we do frequently with athletes, especially, we'll refer out. And one that we've had a lot of work with is Dr. Khan. I don't know if that name is
Joel Kahn from Is it
Shoot, his
where's he located?
I'm gonna mispronounce his name. He's out of Canada.
Oh, okay.
And he's got a couple of practices outside of the States.
And is he a stem cell expert or?
Yeah, he's incredible. In fact, he's really, really good at mixing the peptides and the stem cell treatments. He actually just partnered with Dom Icavone. He has Relive, their health clinics.
Yes.
It's a franchise that they're blowing up, and they're finding a way to bring in some cool stem cell treatments. But yes, we will refer out for that. It's very seasonally dependent, of course, with how much you have to change the training around the stem cells, and it can be difficult with the athletes because they only have such a small window for their off seasons a lot of times.
Yeah.
But in terms of the longevity side with general population, yeah, we've definitely looked into it. There's nothing that's solidified. We've spoken with like BioAccelerator, for example. They're really big into their longevity protocols and of course getting people out of pain with their stem cells. But yeah, it's really intriguing. It's really intriguing, definitely.
Well, I have to tell you that just a side note that I just got back from Tijuana, where I visited Ed Clay. And Ed Clay, if you know his name, was an MMA fighter and big champion. And his partner Scott Nelson is also they're all MMA guys. But they have a hospital that Joe Rogan always touts on his podcast, and Dana White, I think, is somehow connected to them. But anyway, they have this big hospital called the TAM Center, TAM, and cellular CPI, which is Cellular Performance Institute, which is the stem cell division. And so he invited me to go down there, and I have to tell you, it's the greatest education on athletes who are dealing with injuries. I would say 90% of the people in my class, because there were like 50 of us, 30 people that were new and 20 that were repeat, coming back for their second injection. But I would say 90% of them were athletes, or if not athletes, they were weekend warriors who had been injured. Yeah. So they were all athletic in some way or other. There were several in our group that were in wheelchairs. So there were 4 of those. So there was that category of disease there because it wasn't athletic or fitness. It was because they wanted to live, not die. Yeah. And, but the reason I'm telling you this is we all signed up for a WhatsApp. And so now it's been 2 weeks since we've been back, and the WhatsApp is very active because these people are all giving their feedback. Yeah. And what has amazed me is how much pain these people have been in after the injections. So I talked to Ed the other day, and I said, Ed, why is it that after stem cells, these people are all like moaning and groaning about they're tired, or they feel like they can't, they don't know what they can do now. They feel a little bit crippled about the whole thing. And by the way, I was the only one in the whole group of 50 that wasn't getting an injection. He gave me the opportunity to get the stem cells, but I did it with an IV because I didn't have it, thank goodness didn't have anything to worry about. So anyway, he said it takes 90 days for the stem cells to integrate. Did you know all this? I didn't know this.
It's a lengthy process. Yeah.
Yeah. And they can't do any BPC 157 if they've been doing that. I don't know. I didn't really get to ask him the reason why, but the other peptides, the TB500 and the ipamorelin, and, those are all doable. They allow them. And while we were there, we did the NAD IVs, which, as you know, NAD has become one of the big, another darling. And then we did ozone. So I told him, maybe the next generation you'll do the plasmapheresis where, they take out a couple of pints of your blood and then they detoxify it. But the ozone is kind of the, stepping stone to that, where they take out a smaller amount of your blood, and then they purify it and then put it back after it's ozonated. But these are all the things that you can do in Mexico. You can't do some of those things you can do here, but their stem cells are from a donor from 2019, so there's no threat of vaccine corruption.
Oh, wow.
And they're mesenchymal and umbilical cord. Umbilical cord. So that's legal in Mexico, not legal. I don't think they can do as authentically here. So that's the one limitation, of course, of the U.S. is the FDA issues around the stem cells. But I just wanted your reaction to that, because it was shocking to me that these people that went to get rid of pain were getting actually more pain as a result.
Yeah.
But they say it's the result of that.
Well, that's what I was really asking Justin, is did he have any thoughts on that? Ed said it's the time it takes to integrate the stem cells into the healing process of the body, particularly when there's been trauma and inflammation.
Well, I was going to say that's the only thing in my head, very uneducated opinion, that I'd attribute it to is, I mean, if you're putting foreign bodies and injecting, and like, especially in the individuals who maybe they haven't had as much of that before.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what gauge needle they're using, how deep it has to go, but in general, if you do anything like that, like, I would imagine you're going to get some sort of, like you said, inflammation response from it.
Yeah. But, inflammation is good at the beginning. You want some inflammation because that's part of the healing process, but you don't want it to go on, indefinitely. So this is, it would be interesting to see what happens after 90 days, whether these people start saying, I'm a new person. And, the guy sitting next to me had both shoulders, both knees, and I think maybe something else, ankles or something. and then they also offer an aesthetic where you can get stem cells in your face, injected into your face, or aesthetically into the body. So it's a cool thing. You ought to check it out. Cellular.
It's super cool. I think the only caveat, I don't know, maybe in the next 20 years it'll be more common. Yeah. It's very rare that any of these places are all encompassing, because really what each of those people need is they need the stem cell, but then they need a follow-up protocol to make sure their diet, their supplementation.
Oh, absolutely. In fact,
training, right? Because why are you in dysfunction?
Yeah.
There's a thing that you can do to fix it, right? So,
you're so right. And they have an aftercare team, and they are so persistent. I mean, I told them, I said, you don't need to keep calling me. I was just there as a more, for business reasons. And I said, so, I was able to participate, but don't keep calling me for all this feedback that I can't really give you because I didn't have any injuries. But they are really diligent. And by the way, when you look up TAM Center, you're going to see that they're going to become the foremost cancer treatment center in the world. Oh. So that's really their focus, but the stem cells are auxiliary to that. Wow. So let's talk about what's happening with A4M, with Bob Goldman and World Health Net and Epoch Health. So Ashleigh, I know you're going to be very much front and center in Vegas in December at A4M. So what is your vision about that with Standard being involved with that joint venture?
I think the long-term vision is to end up showing physicians how, if they have a team of coaches that are knowledgeable and they're willing to partner with them, how we can really generate a new, and I'm saying wealth, but a new wealth of knowledge into how physicians need to almost like bring their type of medicine forward. And how do we integrate this so that, we align with them, and that at the same time, our intention as Standard is that we want to end up making sure that, Justin actually had the greatest name for it. I kept saying, so it's just like this triangle. And he's like, so it's like a trinity. And I'm like, yes, but it's trinity of like, the strength coach, the athlete or the individual, and then the doctor. And it's how these three have to work together. And if that trinity comes about, wonders happen. Lifestyle's corrected. You end up having optimization. You're able to end up being able to go further. You have a vitality. And I think the biggest thing that struggle is like, you may have a really good physician and you have an individual that's like, oh, they're the best. But then they're struggling with what they need to do because they don't know what to do. And that's come into play because our job is to be like, physician, give us your exercise prescription. And we want to be on the bandwagon to be like, all right, we got their back, we got this. Like, let's try to make the most out of this. And our job is to be able to not only be that motivating factor, but it's also to be able to say, like, we too want to be educated on what's going on, knowing that the patient and the standard of care is like, it's the individual. They are the priority. And on both ends of the spectrum, it's like our balance is like, we really can't be anything without that individual. And that physician ends up, having these individuals. And a lot of times, we want to be like partnering in hindsight to be able to share in other physicians who are in the A4M, industry, that passion of like, if they want to be able to, they did this because they wanted to be able to help the community of health or be able to help individual clients. A lot of time their job is so slim because physicians are only going for maybe a consult every 3 months or blood work once every, 6 months or maybe once a year. And so they don't get the everyday experience that us coaches do get. And to be able to have that and to be able to have that access to be able to ask, questions, knowing that, we have the best intention, but to educate these individuals so that we turn into their advocates so that they can end up going and asking the appropriate questions that they need so that this entire trinity of health can end up coming out on the forefront. And we can look at it and be like, oh, so, if you have a client that's interested in doing something, it's like, calling in on a community call and them taking, a question and answer and saying, how do I integrate, I've had a shoulder issue and I learned about stem cell as well as I've learned about taking BPC. And Justin being able to say, both are great. However, you want to consider these things and maybe we should put you in loop with this physician who's really able to end up helping. However, once you do find that, we're your team because then we know what to do with exercise, modality, all those things. And it's being able to expand a physician's thought on really where can we take, movement as medicine and expand it so that, we're everyone's partner. And that's really what we want to be for everyone.
Well, do you actually have physicians as your clients there, Justin?
Oh yeah.
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 So,
and I think that's the greatest motivator is knowing that because there have been so many established physician to coach relationships and knowing that they're all understanding, we're all educated and that we're all still wanting to know more. We're also eager for that. That's what's allowing this this movement to really like flourish because they're trusting us, but we're also trusting them in what they're teaching and what they're providing us with. And that's what makes it like, it makes it huge.
So let's fast forward like 5 years from now. What do you see being the protocol with the three together as a trinity?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I feel like we're kind of doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it. The 5 years from now will be people realize that that's the fastest way to get a result and to have the best return on their investment. So it'll just be other people will start doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So more than I guess us inspiring others to be able to do that or wanting to be a part of the movement that we're wanting to bring to the forefront of health and wellness.
Well, certainly with Rob Fletcher involved, you have a huge advocate and an incredible spokesperson who just works tirelessly. Everything he touches is, it's done to the nines. And no wonder Dr. Goldman has been partnered with him for, I think it's 15 years or so that he's been his go-to person. And I feel so fortunate that we have him in common as a colleague. And so do you see the future of Epoch Health being a vertically integrated with what they're doing? Because they have Epoch Times, Epoch News, now Epoch Health. So I think he told me they have 20 million views per
Right.
month or something. So, I mean, I see this as huge for a standard, that you're a part of something that's already established. It has its the wheels are in motion. You're jumping on a moving train, but you're adding a whole dynamic that they don't have.
Right.
So it really is a perfect marriage. And I love the spirituality concept of the Trinity, Justin.
Yeah.
Which brings up a good question. How has spirituality played a role in your experience in your career?
Oh, I mean, personally, it's the driving force. We were just talking about this yesterday. I'm very clearly, I was put on this earth with beautiful people around me that are incredibly intelligent, that have gifts, and I've been able to take all of them, and I've been trusted by, I mean, faster than a lot of my colleagues, at least. I've been able to influence people very quickly and in a drastic manner, and I think that only happens with God's hand being on it.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of that as well, just myself, I'm a Christian, and I try to envelop everything that Christ was in what I do. And so in our gym, in our coaching, in our curriculum, in everything we do, it has that same, in Greek, it's agape, but it's like an unconditional, nothing needed on my end love that we push, that it's like truly someone comes in and their life needs to be changed, whether it's a coach that we have, whether it's a physician that we're working with and we want to impact their practice, whether it's an athlete, a mom, a dad, a youth athlete, whoever it is, everything is extremely intentional and missionally driven. And that's because of my relationship with God and what I feel like he's calling me to do. And everyone who's a part of Standard embodies that.
Yeah, I'm sure you were as devastated as most of us were about Charlie Kirk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
100%.
Especially out in Scottsdale. I have a couple of friends who are very, very close with him. So, yeah, very, very unfortunate.
Yeah. But I think that
have you got involved with Radfest at all? Because I know they're in Scottsdale. Has that? Okay. I'll talk.
I'm not even familiar with it. I'm
who
curious.
they are. James Stroll is the co-founder. But I'll talk to you about that offline. But so let's end with you each of you giving us a one sentence message. If you would like to impart to our viewers today one message, what would that be? So we'll start with you, Ashleigh.
Oh, one message. Okay.
I mean, it doesn't have to be one sentence. You can go on. Yeah. It's okay. I was just
I would probably say that educate. So read as much as you can and make sure that what you read, if you don't understand, always ask questions so that you're able to end up being able to comprehend what knowledge is out there, but then allowing you to have the time to apply it and do it the right way. Don't just jump on a bandwagon. Like, do your research, make sure you understand what you're doing, and then go with that direction with that pure intention of knowing like you're going at this with, good reason. You're putting yourself and surrounding yourself with good, wholesome people that you can really trust that direction. And I think that would be the one thing that's not, stressed enough, but just align with what you feel is good, and spirituality goes with that, so make sure that those people have the same alignment that you do, and you'll really start to see that through that association of the mind and body, that you'll be able to really feel whole again, just because those elements are done, but it does come with knowledge first.
Well, that you've really just addressed the mission of Ageless and Timeless, which is when people always ask me, why did you do this? You're a real estate developer and you've had this big corporate career and entrepreneur and all that, but there was just this what Justin said earlier. There was just this driving force that said, I need to give back and I need to help to educate people about these. So many people confused about where to get answers. So you just touched on exactly what is the core mission of this podcast. So, okay, Justin, your turn. What's your message to our viewers?
Yeah, I think this kind of goes off of it's fresh on my mind. Chris and I just had a conversation about this. It's everything that we embody that we try to get our clients to embody, and I think would be very impactful for everyone else. And it's this concept of doing everything on purpose. And there's a double meaning to that. One being, if you're going to start training, do it to the best of your ability. Everything is on purpose. Don't waste any energy. If you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
trust a doctor to oversee your health, do it to the best of your ability, if
Mm-hmm.
whatever that means. And then also on the other end of it, you have a purpose, right? There's a reason that you're here, whether it's you're guiding that, whether you're trusting God to guide that, or it's whatever it is. Everything you do is either going to get you closer to that purpose or pull you
Mm-hmm.
further from it. And so you have to stay on purpose as
Mm-hmm.
well.
You know, I think
Chris,
that's an amazing message because it's all about intention.
yep,
And, you know, we were all brought here for a purpose. The lucky ones like you and Ashleigh and me and Rob Fletcher, we're guided, somehow guided to know what the answer to that question is. Why are we here? And what are we meant to accomplish? But not everybody is as fortunate. And those that are not, that are searching for that, you know, need somewhat of a guideline or people, role models like you two, to help them to understand why am I on this path, or what path should I be on if they're really going back to the original, why am I here? And so I think what you just said, and then I think what you told us about the standard program and how that helps people to fill in the blanks, you know, to get those answers.
yeah.
So if you were to give one, well, let's just say one goal for standard going forward. Now, you know, what you've already accomplished is already pretty impressive, but is there anything that you haven't accomplished yet that you would like to accomplish in the future?
Yeah, truly everything that we do is such a personal level thing. I would love to say that our goal is to be the most impactful human performance, human wellness brand
Mm,
ever. That's truly what we're looking for, but that ultimately boils down to every person that we interact with, they experience life transformation from us,
mm-hmm,
whether that's the scale that we have now or 100x that. That's
mm-hmm.
always going to be the mission through and through, is that life transformation on a personal level.
And so if people want to join your program and they can only do it virtually, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so of course we have the app,
Yeah.
and there's programs on there, an amazing community and education. There's group coaching as well, where like Ashleigh was saying, they get access to Chris and myself on a weekly basis, and we're able to walk people through a curriculum that we have. But the one that the majority of people go towards is that one-on-one experience, and it is more of an investment, but I can't put a dollar amount on the life transformation that I've seen from it with the people that trust us to guide
Mm-hmm.
them. And in that scenario, it's applying, seeing if you're someone who fits our criteria and who we believe is ready to make that life change. And then our team handles everything from there. And then we jump into the coaching process.
But that one-on-one is also virtual, but there
That's
can
right.
be, but if somebody happens to live geographically close, they could do an actual physical
Of course.
connection. So can you break down the pricing for us so people have an understanding of what their what category they might fit in financially?
Of course. Yeah. So when it comes to the app, you're spending about $100 for a year to have access.
Oh my gosh, that's so reasonable.
Exactly. Well, that's the idea, is anyone should be able to do that considering the impact that it'll have. The group
Right.
coaching is about $500 for a year. The online coaching, which has the telemedicine, it has some in-person events, it has all of that. That's around the 15 grand mark. And then for in-person, it's very scenario dependent. But for someone to be with us for roughly a year, it's about 25 to 30 grand that they're going to be spending.
Okay. Okay, so actually, anything else that your vision wants to, for the future for a standard, wants to articulate?
I would say, I think our long-term goal is that we're not only going to continue to keep motivating and transforming just patient and client life, but our long-term projection is that we really want to bring the application of coaching and the art of coaching back so that it's not just, you know, virtual. It's really sharing that integrative experience of like getting to know someone one-on-one, being able to know like what that pathway is like. And with that being said, we're able to, you know, train these coaches and have these coaches have these certifications and get the education that they need so that the art of coaching, the art of, you know, that human one-on-one connection is brought back. I think that's a huge part of this, that like, you know, we can all be in the hustle and bustle and understand that, you know, virtual is definitely it's always going to be there. However, I think as coaches, knowing that we have a great coaches community and that we're all willing to keep learning, to be able to keep becoming students and motivate others through learning is going to be a huge thing when it comes to the curriculum and the mission of what Justin's wanting to really bring to the forefront with, you know, with all of our coaches, and I think physicians too. I think it's good to learn, and that's why A4M is so exciting, is because you get to go and learn. I mean, like, it's why it's, you know, it brings that element of like, you're almost a kid again, being able to say like, how much can I learn? And then how can I apply it? That's fun, at least to us. So I think being able to have and attract other like-minded individuals who love coaches or, you know, love coaching, they have that, you know, passion and that drive that Justin keeps talking about, to attract that and to be able to bring more of that out to the forefront. I think that's our long-term goal with this.
That's lovely. So what's the website, the way people can sign up?
Yeah, so the app, it's standard.app, and they'll be able to see both the group coaching and the app through that. Standard Coaching is going to be the page, which is for the online coaching, and the Standard Collective is our physical location out in Scottsdale.
And let's be clear that everybody's Standard is spelled.
Yeah, STNDRD.
Why did you leave out the two A's?
You know, it's one of those new age fancy schmancy, drop the vowels and oh, you got something cool. Oh.
Okay, well, STNRD, right?
DRD.
DRD. I'm sorry. Yeah, STNDRD. Okay, everybody. Well, this has been a really helpful, and I know that you two are so passionate and wanting to make just empower people and to really make change, and so people live, you know, longer but healthier. Because who wants to live a long life if you're not living it healthfully? So
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I guess I'm going to see both of you in another couple of weeks.
That's right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.